All right. Has anyone ever heard of codeine?
Yeah.
Okay, so someone want to tell me what codeine is? It's an opiate, thank you. So it's very similar to heroin, and currently I'm on codeine because I have had major tooth surgery this morning. So I'm floating a little. Just bear with me. I've got some tablets in my bag. If you want, it's $5 a pop. just chat to me after the session. But I'm talking about something completely different. Currently I'm at the City of Joburg Housing Department. But I'm actually talking about my work at Plan Act. I don't know if anyone's heard of Plan Act, an organization. Just want to raise your hand. So if I asked this question 20 years ago, I think pretty much everyone was going to raise their hands because it was very involved in using design to prove that the apartheid movement, the apartheid regime was uneconomical, inefficient, and that it really counted in favor of everybody, like Amira was actually speaking about, to have better design. So I think it's quite an interesting organization to look up. I was there mostly in 2012. I'm going to be speaking about a paper that I wrote for Active Citizenship Matters, and it was a GGLN publication, 2013. Community participation could look like this, and often we look at images of participation, and they look like this, right? Nice circles, everyone chatting, everyone at equal level, you know? But actually it can, it's a very bad lighting for this, sorry, the projectors are funny, but actually they can often look like this instead. And community participation is not an easy thing to do. Quite often it backfires, quite often there is the underbelly. I don't know if you understand what I mean by underbelly. Think of sort of the flip side of the coin, for instance, the side where things are a little bit dirty and not as clear cut. Questions I'm wanting to look at now is what constitutes active citizenship? Is active citizenship always helpful in addressing the needs of the majority of residents? Or can it be manipulated further to address the needs of only a few? Because often activist citizenship and community participation in the NGO sector, even in this course, we're seeing it as a wholly positive thing. You know, you're driving it in government. We're always driving community participation. It's fantastic. Do it. You have to do it. We legislate it even. It's in our Housing Act. But there is potential to backfire in terms of public interest. There's also a status or power associated with being an active citizen, with being a community leader. And that term often gets thrown about. And what are these incentives? I also want to talk about the buzzwords that you have to be concerned about. Please, can somebody be very, very brave and break down this word of the community? Just very brave. Come on. What year are you? Are you first year? Just asking.
They've done nationalism. It's a construct. It's an imaginary. It could be an imaginary thing. Or it could be real as well.
Could be real. Could be a construct. But it's ambiguous to say the least, right? Communities as well. Often people talk about communities, but actually they're talking possibly about individuals within what they see as a community. When you go and speak to the communities, what are you actually saying there? Community participation. Who's participating? And I'm going to break these down at the end of the presentation, but I think if you just keep these buzzwords in your mind, we can then have a better conversation at the end. Active citizenship, community leader, the other buzzwords as well. So this paper took a little bit more of a cynical approach. I've got a couple of copies. I think if Mary feels it's valuable, she can distribute them. But basically, the concept, this is another author's opinion. The concept of active citizenship in particular is applied to the sphere of community development, which is, I think, what we're trying to achieve. has gained much currency in community discourse and practice. It's perhaps not surprising, because it's wholesomely positive values that is associated with these: cooperation, cohesion, caring, neighborliness, evoking heartwarming ideals of belonging and solidarity. This idea appears all at once virtuous, worthy, and highly seductive. But maybe it's not that. So Planet has been working on what we call participatory governance since 1985. And in Protea South, which is the area I'm going to be looking at, since 2007. I'm going to tell you a story about my involvement specifically across the length of 2012. And it's mostly my observations, backed up by a couple of, backed up by my organization, but it's still my analysis, so feel free to say, actually, maybe you're wrong. So it's in South Soweto, near Malaysia. It's relatively well located. It's quite a highly contested piece of land. There's been a lot of issues with dolomite. And if you want another buzzword, learn dolomite. Dolomite is a huge issue across informal settlements across the Joburg area, especially Joburg and Gauteng. Basically, what happened in this court case was that it was ruled that there had to be community participation with the community about relocations because of the dolomite. But a lot of the interpretation of that by key community members that pushed it was that actually they had won the case and could stay on the land, and the land was theirs. So this tension between, did there have to be community participation to figure out where to move, or is the land theirs and they get to stay, forms the basis of the story that I'm going to tell you. So that's where it is, much clearer on the screen. So that was the 2008 court case that I was speaking about to halt evictions. And Planet was involved in a capacity building front, again, trying to affect active citizenship. The dolomite threat continues to stall development in the area, and with development getting stalled, people get more frustrated, and different people, their power struggles that are always coming to the fore. So there's a number of different competing factions within this area. So the residents, people are living in the area, right? Within the area, there's a whole bunch of different community organizations and political movements. But the two key ones really that I'm going to be speaking about is the Landless People's Movement, that's LPM, and then the DA, effectively. But the DA is an interesting organization because there it's headed up by somebody that used to be the head of LPM, but then found that she could get access to more resources, more political buy-in, and more benefit, probably to herself, by joining the DA. So that tension there is what I'm going to be speaking about. So often there's competition amongst community-based organizations and other popular movements for access to scarce development resources and power, and this is a constant constraint preventing proper participation. So often political movements and civic movements are well aware that development, that they can claim responsibility for, so saying that they brought that development to that area will boost their support base, right? So they're going to get more members saying, look, we are the ones that brought toilets to this area. But, so this means they have an incentive to actually sometimes discourage processes for which they cannot claim sole credit. So when somebody else is saying, actually, let's bring toilets to this area, let's bring in local labor to build roads, often what happens is that there's an opposing force from the other residents in that area who's saying, no, this isn't done right, there wasn't proper participation, we weren't involved, stopping that development because they were wanting the credit for bringing that. So this is not me that said it, it's other South African authors actually, so I'm not telling lies here. These are the 4 stages that we're looking at. Okay, so firstly, Planet was requested to assist in a conflict mediation. We're responding to a request. We didn't go in there. This is interesting what you guys are doing because you're going in, I'm not sure if there has been a specific request, but we were actually responding to a request from somebody who identified herself as a community leader. Then, next stage was that we were requested to facilitate an IDP proposal process. An IDP is what municipalities function around in planning, integrated development proposals. And then LPM accuses Plan Act of being against the community. Okay? But then Plan Act is requested to facilitate a report back on the relocations case on LPM's behalf. So I'm going to just break these down. So Doreen, who used to be LPM leader, now she's DA, right? That's a major switch. LPM is like, you know, radical. It's associated with the SDI, you know, Slum Dwellers International. If any political leanings, it's got an ANC leaning, all right? Then they came and she now said, okay, I wasn't elected councillor, so I'm going to be a DA councillor. She brought all of her people with her because people were supporting not the organization but her. Then LPM said, this is not happening. So now they were realizing that all their supporters were going with Doreen. And she called in Plan Act. Basically, what she was wanting Plan Act to do, in essence, was tell the guys to shut up. But Plan Act, so we dealt with that. Then we were requested to facilitate an IDP proposal, because Doreen was saying that the community had been bypassed by the IDP processes. So we ran a full workshopping consultation process. Doreen was the person that brings in the people to the workshop. She's the one that advertises the event. We were like, wow, this is fantastic. There are loads of people attending our events. I mean, you know, people were active. We didn't even have to worry about sort of lack of participation, which you guys might have to deal with. It was seemingly a straightforward act of citizenship. But in reality, we were actually running a parallel process which had already happened. There had already been invitations for the formal IDP process, but Doreen was feeling like she wasn't the one being able to extend those invitations to people because she was DA rather than ANC. So she wanted to run a separate one, basically. And because she brought on Plan Act, hers was seen as stronger because there was this NGO that had promises of development with it. You know, if you have somebody from the outside, you are automatically lent a lot of power for that. But then, so that angered Landis People's Movement, sorry, LPM. What they did was they then said that Plan Act is actually against the community. And they claimed basically that we were working against the public interest. They also started making allegations that we were actually supporting the development of bonded houses rather than RDP houses, that we were enabling Doreen's corruption. And they also tried to destabilize Plan Act by coming and phoning certain people that were my colleagues in Plan Act and saying, oh, Simon, that guy is a problem. He's causing rifts in the community because he's supporting this guy. Yes, I know we have to, yeah, thanks a lot. All right, but then LPM decided, oh, let's be strategic about this. They're going to bring in Plan Act to actually lend power to what they had to say. And that was reporting back on the court case, and again reasserting that court case was their victory, the organization's victory, not the specific woman, the individual, Doreen's victory. So what's in it for this active citizen? What is it in it for the community leader? They've got greater potentials of accessing government and externally legislative participation processes. You get your name attached to these developments that may occur. You get recognized as a community leader, power, and possibility of attracting votes. You know, if people see, oh, this guy is actually creating positive development in the area or bringing in organizations with the promise of development, I want to vote for him. And in the end, potentials of financial gain. I mean, even in South Africa, if you become a ward councillor, that's a good job. If you're living in an informal settlement, you are one of the richest people there as a ward councillor. And in the case of social movement, well, the problem is that active citizenships can often monopolize the information channels between the so-called slum residents, this is a quote, I wouldn't use that term, and the agencies. And they're claiming non-political alliance allows for the allegiance to non-political, but actually there's no such thing as a non-political party or non-political organization. So there are a couple of possibilities that the NGO can take. I think what we can do is distribute this slideshow. if you want, because we're short of time. But what you need to ensure is that your research, I mean, we already spoke about spending time. You need to spend time at the basic level. You need to spend time, immersion, participant observation. Go buy something from a cafe that in the area that you're dealing with. Sit down, break out of the bubble, chat to the person next to you, even if it was really awkward. Stop, use buying things as like, now you've got them penned, you're buying something from the shop owner. They kind of have to chat to you, right? So you can just, in an easygoing way, chat and skimmer. Have a little bit of a gossip session. What is actually happening behind the scenes that you don't know about? What do they think about what you're already saying? Don't rely only on formal sit-down workshops where you're going to get a certain individual or organization dominating, even if it's not obvious, even if they're not shouting. Everyone will be like, I wonder what that guy's going to say if I raise that. Actually, I don't agree. Do these informal walkabouts. I mean, we had. It's easy because you guys are students as well. It's much less easy when you are affiliated to an organization that's seen as being able to be more powerful. Right, and just keep in mind those not so virtuous aspects. Why are people doing what they're doing? Everyone has a reason, and mostly it's a personal reason. And lastly, those buzzwords. What is your community? I mean, to critique it, do you have a community? Is that community specifically where you live? Because whenever we think about the community, right, when we're talking about the community, often we're talking about residents in an area, actually. I mean, that's often a safer way of thinking about it, or occupants of a building. Your community probably stretches across the whole of Joburg, parts of South Africa. It's an interest group rather than, or like a friendship group or whatever. I'm done. Cool. Thanks.